University. So this transfer bridging program for college transfer students was developed through a collaborative effort between Trent University's Office of Student Affairs, the Trent Teaching Commons, Recruitment and Admissions, the School of Education, and dedicated instructors. Together, this cross-campus group worked to support students transitioning from college to university study at Trent University, which is located in both Peterborough and Durham, Ontario. As a relatively small institution with a student population of approximately 13,000, Trent welcomes hundreds of college transfer students each year and is committed to creating intentional, student-centered pathways that foster academic confidence, belonging, and success. So I will hand it over to our guest speakers today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello and welcome. Just wait for the slides to pop up. I'm here today to share some information about the bridge and what we have here at Trent, which is a way that we're strengthening transfer student success through a credit-bearing transition support. And so I'd like to begin by first acknowledging that we respectfully acknowledge that Trent University is on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. And I also want to acknowledge that I do think that we've tried to embody some of these teachings about our earth and our relations through this program. I think when I reflect on this land acknowledgement, I remember about how often education is rooted in understanding someone's past journeys and understanding someone's past experiences, and also trying to hold true to where they want to go and who they want to be. And in that, I do think that the bridge program that we've created together here at Trent University with the support of ONCAT does those things. I think that we do try to honor someone's learnings and try to carry them forward with respect, and also thinking about how do we foster a sense of belonging for this person who's coming through our program. And so I invite you to think about the land that you are situated on, the way that you support transfer students in your own universities and through your own programs, and maybe even in your own colleges as well. We can move to the next slide. So my name is Melissa Fernandez, and I'm the Manager of Student Affairs here at Trent University. And I'm joined by colleagues from across the university who have supported this project. This is not everybody who is on the project, but these are the folks who are, I would consider, our core team. So we have Anya Gwynn. Anya, just give a wave, who is the Student Equity and Success Programs Coordinator. We've got Dana Capel, who is a Senior Education Developer. Brandon Remmelgas, who is a Access, Inclusion, and Transition Education Developer, and Stephanie Ferguson, who is an e-learning designer. And we are here today to talk about the grant that we received in 2024 from ONCAT, which was a part of their Transfer Bridging Grant series. And so when we applied to this grant, we knew that we wanted to build a program that was going to ease the academic and social transitions for transfer students through a bridging program. We knew that we wanted to build upon an existing program that was successful here at Trent, and that was called the Bridge Program. However, we knew that the Bridge Program was not going to be a good fit in its current state at the time for transfer students, because the credit that they received was a 1,000 level credit. And also, we knew that the skills that we were sharing and teaching about in the bridging program was not completely congruent to what maybe a transfer college student needed. So we knew that we had to make some changes. And so we wanted to address those key challenges that we knew existed for academic success and belonging for a transfer student. We were planning to deliver this program jointly through faculty and peer mentorship, so faculty leadership and peer mentor leadership. And we knew that we needed to co-design this program through campus-wide consultations and very specific strategic partnerships across the university. Hence why you see a team in front of you today. Through this process, we set forth on engaging student affairs professionals, curriculum designers, and educators all so that we can make this program possible. So I'll tell you a little bit about our project scope and timeline. And this is how the presentation will also somewhat flow through. And so I'll give you a bit of a highlight of what we did and how we did it. But the rest of the team will dive into some of these components more deeply. So we had 3 phases to our project: research, development, and then pilot delivery and assessment. In the research phase, we took on a lit review, an environmental scan, as well as some focus groups. And that's where we really engaged with faculty members and folks across campus and students to understand what do they need. Next, we went into the development phase. In the development phase, we created the online course that you're going to have a sneak peek of. In this, we used subject matter experts. We utilized the skills of our e-learning designers and technologists and multimedia specialists. And in the development phase, it also meant that we had to integrate some of the co-curricular components and possibly refine some of those co-curricular components. We engaged faculty members for the delivery of the course and peer mentors, so we had to do the hiring processes for these groups. And in this development phase, we also developed some of our key performance indicators. In the pilot delivery and assessment phase, that's when we promoted the program. We went out there in our open houses that Trent runs and through our enrollment and recruitment advisors and all the channels that we can get through to say, hey, this is going to be a thing this year. We screened applications for the students who are going to be coming in and sitting in our classroom for this course. And we did that with the help of academic advisors and also that recruitment team. We monitored the delivery of our program. So you're going to learn a little bit more about what this 14-day compressed course looks like. And as we were doing that, we assessed our learning outcomes and our performance indicators. In the end, as for all ONCAT grants, we did provide a summative report, and the work that we did throughout the process did inform that. I'm going to let the rest of the team dive into each of those components, and so passing it along.
Great. Thanks, Melissa, and thanks for starting us off in such a good way. I'm going to talk a little bit about the research that we did and what we learned from it when we engaged in that research. So one of the great things about the ONCAT grant is it let us hire a very brilliant graduate student, Jess Malcolm, who joined our team as a research assistant. And Jess was able to carry out a lot of really deep research that we learned so much from and really was able to ground our new course in evidence-based ideas. So the first thing that Jess did was a literature review on experiences, challenges, and opportunities faced by students transitioning from college to university. She did an environmental scan of our own bridging program and then of other bridging programs at other colleges and universities. She did interviews with faculty and staff about transfer student needs and experiences. It was interesting, at the same time that we had this bridging grant, another team at Trent had a capacity grant from ONCAT, and they were doing interviews with students. And we really wanted to make sure, rather than overlapping, we were sharing. So they took charge of interviews with transfer students, and then they shared their data with us, and we shared our data with them. So it was really helpful that way. So we reviewed the data from student interviews conducted by their research assistant. And at the end of that, Jess gave a report and a set of recommendations to inform our bridge course design. So some of her findings, the first revolve around transfer shock, which is a really well-established concept in the literature, that students who transfer to a four-year institution may experience a temporary, and we really highlight that word temporary, decrease in GPA or marks, and experience social and emotional challenges within their first semesters. And so we really wanted to make sure that any programming that we did would prepare students so that they knew this might come, but also really focus on that idea of temporary. This is something that many students experience and move past, so that we could really focus on that strengths-based approach. We also learned a lot about who was at the most risk of transfer shock. So we learned that students who were more mature, so 26 and over individuals had particularly high dropout rates after transferring. Underrepresented and equity deserving groups were at higher risk for leaving university after transferring, and that certain programs, and in particular business, math, and science, which we have a lot of transfer students who come into those programs, were at higher risk. So we felt like those findings really mapped a path for us for the need for this kind of bridging program. We also learned a lot from the literature about strengths of incoming students. So we learned that transfer students came in with some really important skills, practical skills that they had developed through their other post-secondary experiences, but also through work experiences. A lot of deep skills around group work and working with other people, again, from those other experiences, but also that independence, that sense of being able to do things on their own. And again, that was grounded in their experience. So the fact that they had been in more settings than just high school, that they often came from more diverse backgrounds, and that they held really diverse perspectives, and that they had met people with really diverse perspectives. But what really was highlighted in the literature is that some of the biggest strengths that transfer students bring are around their motivation. They are very motivated to succeed. They generally know why they are here and what they want out of their university degree, and that is such a valuable piece to academic success in university. They tend to be really focused. They've done a lot of the sort of initial exploration and investigation of what they want to do, and now they know. And really important for our purposes, transfer students are really good at seeking and using supports. So if you bring supports, that they will use them. And so we felt really heartened that if we developed this program, that we would have a good audience for that program. Some of the challenges and supports that we felt they needed based on the discussions that we had and the literature, finding accurate information on transfer. So, what are the credits that are transferring? What do they need to do? What do they need to be careful of when they're choosing their courses because of the credits that they're coming in with? Finding resources and support. So because they're not coming in as a first year student, they often miss some of that orientation programming and some of the kind of I'm going to use this and it's not the right word, but hand holding like that we give to our incoming first year students to really work through like where do you go for help. And so when they're in this context, they're ready to use supports, but sometimes they may have trouble finding them. Understanding expectations. So understanding what this assignment was asking them for and how that might differ from what they had been asked for in the past. Social isolation. So, not coming in with their cohort and all of a sudden being in classes with second and third year students who all knew each other and not really having that sense of connection that's built through those first year courses. And then not knowing about transfer shock, thinking like, oh, I'm going to go, it's going to be great, I'm going to be wonderful. And then being really surprised when they did have this temporary disjuncture. So the supports that we felt were important were transfer specific advising and supports, transfer specific workshops, so not just putting them into general workshops, and info and skill development on the skills necessary for university, especially as they pertain to the skills they already had. So skills they had developed in college and how those skills would underwrite their university success, but also how they needed to be built upon for their university success. We also did just a survey of what we were doing in our bridge program and what other people. And what we found is that most bridging programs are designed to help students who couldn't otherwise be admitted gain entry to university. So they weren't necessarily designed for students who had been admitted already. They were programs that allowed students to come in, and if they finished, then they were degree progression programs so that they could then enter a degree program. And we wanted to do something different because we wanted to offer a program for students who had been admitted, but we thought could benefit from extra support. Most programs are not credit bearing, or they offer credit at a first year level. And we knew that was going to be a barrier for our transfer students who were generally coming in with credits and couldn't actually use more first year credits for their degree programs, and or wouldn't be as motivated to take our course if they couldn't get credit for it. Some and target underrepresented equity deserving groups, and we wanted to preserve that focus, and focus on developing skills to succeed at university. Most span across several weeks, like a typical semester. And so one of the challenges that we faced was that we wanted to offer this in the summer as credit bearing, but also as a program that was compressed. And so we'll talk a little bit later about some of the challenges that that poses. So wrapping up our research, as we thought about our bridging program, we felt really that our proposal was well supported by the research we did. The research that we did supported the needs and goals outlined in our proposal. We wanted to create a program that could ease the academic and social transition of college transfer students, and the research that we did demonstrated that need. The findings suggested that we needed to create a course specific to college transfer students, that we didn't want to just put them in with incoming first-year students, that focuses on learning skills in university, common assignments, and academic and personal skills at the second year level. So we wanted to provide a second year credit because that would allow for more degree flexibility for our incoming students. We wanted to integrate opportunities for connection with campus resources in an online environment that was accessible to our incoming students to take at home while they were still working or supporting family obligations, and that we wanted to integrate advising into our program structure so that they could get the advice they needed to make wise choices. And I'll turn it over now to my colleagues to talk a little bit about what actually we created. I believe we're Brandon, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. So diving into a little bit of what the program actually looked like, and this should actually say summer 2025. That was last year, but that's okay. Um, so the program is a 14-day compressed, synchronous, fully online program where students earn a 0.5 credit. So they complete a class and they get a credit for that class within 14 days. The program started on Thursday, August 7th, and ended on Tuesday, August 26th. And there was only 12 instructional days, as we used Wednesdays as reading days. So students will have class Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, then they're off Wednesday, then they have class Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, they're off Wednesday. And that structure worked really well. The program is offered in August, just prior to the start of the academic year. And something we were able to achieve this year in close collaboration with our student accounts team is that the program is offered at no additional or advanced cost and is included as a part of the standard tuition fees for the academic year. So previously, this program used to exist as a first-year bridging program, and in that program, students had to pay for the credit in advance, and then that would be refunded from what they owed when they paid their fall tuition fees. But because the term is so close to the start of the fall term and falls outside of the typical summer term that happens in May, June, and July, our student accounts team was amenable to including the costs for the bridge program in what the students would pay in their fall tuition. The goal with that is that students actually use the course they earn in the summer in this compressed program to take one less course during the academic year. So our advice is that students do the bridge program course in August and then only take 4 courses if their normal course load is 5. Some students still choose to take the full max course load and save that credit to take a course off later on in their programs. But that is our goal, is for students to start the fall with one less course because they did one in August. The other unique feature of this program that sets it apart from other courses offered at Trent is that students can withdraw from the program at any time without academic penalty, and any student projected to fail the course is withdrawn. So if the students take the bridge course and they're not successful, which I can announce that we didn't have any students not succeed in the course this term or this year, we will drop them from the course instead of having it show up as a failing credit on their transcript, and there's no academic penalty. So the students, up until the very last day of class, they can drop the course and not receive any academic penalty. And like I said, the goal is to give students a kickstart to their year and allow them to take one less course in their first term. And then we'll jump to the next slide. And so the bridge program is offered in streams. So we have one stream for incoming first year university students coming from high school, and this new stream, that's part of the funding we're talking about today. That's for college transfer students with no previous university credits. And the really cool thing about the program we offered this year for the college transfer students is we're actually taking some of our learnings and some of the things that worked really well with the college transfer stream and adding those to the first year stream. So the first year stream of the program has been around for quite a while. It used to be an in-person program where first years would live on campus and they take a science course in the morning and a humanities course in the afternoon. But that was expensive, having students living in residence, and then COVID happened and in-person programming wasn't going to work anymore. So we transitioned the program online where the students just took one course, but they still had to choose if they wanted to do a science or an arts course. Whereas we had really great success with the course in the college transfer stream this year being an interdisciplinary course. So we're actually currently in the works of redesigning the first year bridge program stream to kind of follow the same course structure as the college transfer stream course at the first year level, and making it more interdisciplinary so students across all academic backgrounds can take the same course. And I think I'll pass the floor over to our e-learning designer, Stephanie, to chat about the course.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, so as Brandon said, I was the e-learning designer on the course, and I worked with the subject matter expert and who ended up teaching the course. So she was also the instructor in the course, which worked really well. And one of the key things to our course design was we created this character, Melody, or Mel for short, and she was just a fictional college transfer student coming into Trent University and starting a new program at Trent. It's a fictional program because we wanted it to represent both art students and science students. So it's the art and science of music. So she's featured throughout the course, and the preview will show you that. Here's sort of a breakdown of the course content. So all 12 modules, kind of running, all through just some really critical, important university skills. And I've gotten a couple asterisks beside module 10 there because that one, approaching major assignments at university, is kind of a fun one because we split it up into two. It's kind of a choose your own adventure, choose your own path. So depending if you are going to be an art student or a science student, you can choose to do the research essays path or the lab reports path. Of course, students are welcome to do both. I'm not sure how many chose that option, but yeah, we developed both so they're kind of really specific and relevant to students coming in. And this was the daily course structure. So a quick kind of Zoom check-in with the instructor from like 9 to 9:15. However, after running the course, the instructor kind of came back with the feedback they want longer on Zoom. They need a little bit more time online, so she usually spent more time. And then work on the online module for that day, and then come back on Zoom from 10 to 11 for the skills labs, and then 11 a.m. onwards is some kind of more asynchronous work on remaining module work, plus the readings and digital activities that were included. And yeah, the evaluation structure. So class participation was 15%, which included the skills lab attendance, discussion boards, digital activities, and a participation bonus. Journal reflections were 40%, critical article review 20%, literature review 25%. And again, some feedback after the first run. We're going to kind of reduce the amount of journal reflections and the weight of that, and increase the class participation, because they were doing a lot of work like in the discussions and the digital activities. So we want to have that kind of reflect more in the breakdown. And last but not least, so here's a little bit of a course tour. So you can just press play. There is no sound. I'll just talk kind of through it. But yeah, this is built in Blackboard Learn. And on the left, you've got the course menu. And this is the welcome module. So they just kind of click through. And here's Mel. And we did add these little sound bites. So we gave Mel a voice. And so students could click on that to hear her voice, and we used AI to kind of create that voice. Yeah, some H5P activities, kind of breaking down different icons in the course that are going to be repeated in each module. So there's consistent format, so it's easy to navigate for students who might be new to online learning or new to Blackboard Learn. And yeah, so this is an example of a module 1 all the way through. And it's going pretty quick, but I knew we had a lot to cover today in a short amount of time. This is just to check your understanding so they can get instant feedback of how they're doing, and they can retry things multiple times. It's ungraded. It's just sort of a quick self-assessment that they can do in each module. There's the digital resources, the journal reflection, and the wrapping up. So that's a quick but a little bit of a course preview for you. Thanks so much.
I think
Excellent.
maybe
This is
on.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. So my scope with this program was to support students who were there in a mentorship capacity to support other students during taking the program. So we hired 2 students who actually had both been college transfers themselves. One was actually also in business and science, so that worked out well, being that those were areas indicated for higher risk of not succeeding. So their job was to help in development of some of the co-curricular course education, which were called skills labs. So they were trained, they helped, we looked at the research, we pulled out stuff that we thought would be the best to meet some of those areas where the college students could come together and express their skills that they already have, talk about the experience that they already have, and to support that drive piece that was mentioned earlier. So getting them connected to those resources that were going to support them going along. So the students were there to support and run like the reading days. We did body doubling. The research told us that students really wanted to hear from other students that had had similar experiences, and that really came out. And they felt really comfortable providing feedback to those students in that capacity. And they also helped co-facilitate the skills labs. They took attendance. We realized that while the research asked for some social building, that holding events that were just social didn't really kind of fit with the pragmatism, I think, that was expressed with a lot of our college transfer students. So we also tried to weave in kind of events that brought together people's skills and experience and sharing and getting to know each other, but also with some additional educational components. So we did some body doubling, like I said. We also did like kind of like where to get the best coffee, where to get the best roti, where to get the best like kind of things that were about more like around what the lived student experience was going to be like for those who were going to be transferring here. And what else? Yeah, a lot of the skills labs were really about, they were really complementary to the course curriculum. So we would look, I met with the course content creator, and we looked at what skills lab would kind of complement what the students were already learning that day. And especially realizing that because this is a compressed course, we were seeing that shock, that transfer shock in real time, real fast. Like, so within the first couple of days, and things that students were, they were feeling stress, they were feeling imposter syndrome and doubt because the experiences were quite different. So our student staff, our peer mentors were able to kind of have those conversations and then provide feedback to both myself and to the course instructor, which helped us to kind of make those pivots and tweaks along the way to best support the student experience.
Yeah, I'll jump in here for recruitment and enrollment. So, what's the numbers of the program and how did we get folks into the program? So, this was where our connections with our admissions team was paramount. Recruitment emails were sent by the admissions team to all incoming college transfer applicants to Trent University. We also had postcards with a quick front and back evergreen resources without dates that talk about the program and have a QR code to the website where students can register. We had those with the recruitment team when they were going out and doing their talks with high schools or colleges or wherever they were going. We accepted applications via Microsoft Forms. We had a total of 40 students apply for the program. We then provided that list to our admissions and registrar team, who kind of went through and verified if they were actually college transfer students or if they were maybe students who were coming back to Trent after being here in the past. And we assessed their eligibility based on our criteria. And in some cases, we actually moved students down to the first year stream if that was better, or in some cases, we moved people who were starting university for the first time, but who were mature students and might actually fit better in the college transfer stream. We moved people back and forth based on their personal circumstances and based on their academic background. We ended up with 32 students registered in the course and starting the program on the first day. 9 students withdrew prior to course completion for a variety of reasons. I think some of them we probably lost due to that transfer shock, and that's okay. Some of them we lost because medical things came up, or one person we lost on the last day because they said it was great, but I'm too busy and I need to focus on other things, and that's okay. And so at the end of the day, 23 students completed the program and earned a 0.5 credit for them to use towards their degree completion.
This is back to me. So we did do some evaluation, obviously, at the end, and we looked at, unfortunately, we only had about, I'd say, half of the students filled out the evaluation. It's very hard to get people to fill out evaluation. But those who did really committed to making to commenting and letting us know what they thought. And there was a lot of positive stuff. So, just I can let you read these, but one of the things that really stood out was about the peer mentors and the skills labs. They loved that there wasn't a lot of homework with those because there is a lot because it's a compressed course. There is a fair bit with the course content itself, and there was a lot of discussions, and I felt that fulfilled that social piece that the research said that college students were really looking for. Folks found that it really helped them to prepare. Every school uses kind of different software to begin. So this meant that students that were coming into their courses in September, they already had that background in Blackboard. They already knew how to access things. And we're often, I heard anecdotally afterwards from some of these students that they felt like they got to be the leaders in their classes because they had that confidence going in, which is a great counterbalance to that piece of like that imposter syndrome piece that we were talking about earlier, is that actually by doing this, they end up when they start their official classes, they're already ahead and feeling that they have something to contribute. So they're passing on that mentorship in a way in their classes. And just a few more here. I think one of the things at Trent that we really strive for is that critical thinking. And not that colleges don't do that, but I think it is a distinctive factor of, university academic work, and especially here at Trent, we really press that. So I think that this course, as the second comment here really eloquently illustrates, that this really helped them to kind of get there, right? To thinking critically, how am I communicating with my peers? So some of the things that we did learn, college transfer students, they wanted these social opportunities to meet up. But again, because we are, this is one of the challenges of being a virtual platform that, at the end of the day, it's August. They've been online from the morning. They've been at their computers doing their homework, trying to get people to log back on to have a social engagement, not so great. So like I said, we kind of pivoted and tried to make sure that what we were offering was in alignment with the fact that they were already studying. So that body doubling, study time, being able to host sessions that were going to give them talk about a lot about the resources, how to make sure that you're getting the most out of your tuition. These are things that sat on top of mind, were top of mind for college students who know the value of a buck, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to access. And we know that once the college transfer students knew their supports, that the research told us that they would actually access those supports. So we tried to use that social time to do some of that. The other thing that we learned was that and this I think Stephanie kind of touched on this, was that initially there was going to be kind of a 15-20 minute window for students to kind of connect with the instructor and kind of go about their work independently. But we do have students coming in from very different experiences. We have some that want to keep that good college grade standing that they had, so they're kind of high achieving. They just want to make sure that they're keeping up, and then we had students who hadn't been in college or hadn't been in a school for a long time, and they were really going like, this feels really new. They were experiencing more shock, right? So I think that the self-directed piece was a little bit difficult for some folks, and we were able to, obviously, with feedback, pivot and give more instruction. But being able to support that at the time was really great, that we had ownership over the course enough to be able to make those shifts. But yeah, so very different experiences, and that's something that we really learned, was that the college there's no one unique, or one, sorry, they're all unique. There's no one way that a college student shows up for this course.
Yeah, so some of the long-term challenges that we are navigating with this course and with our other bridge courses, creating a course that's representative of a typical university course. So we want them to have an experience that we can say, you take this class and you're going to understand what it's like to be in a university course, but we're doing it during a compressed term. And so it's sometimes actually harder than you might experience if you had a whole semester. So it's difficult to create a credit-bearing course. It has to have a certain amount of work and contact hours, or we can't make it credit-bearing. But we have to compress that into 12 days. So we really struggle with that. We continue to kind of help students to see, like, okay, when you get into your regular classes, they're going to be over the course of the semester. So, but right now, missing a day of class is like missing a week. And so that's a struggle with this compressed term. We ultimately think it is a struggle worth waging, because it's so valuable to have this program before the term exists and to offer students the chance to take a lighter load in the fall. So we think it's important point, but it's a difficult challenge. The other challenge is future-proofing the program. So it is difficult to sustain a resource-intensive course in difficult budget years. My hunch is many of you might know this experience, but when you're talking about a small class, and it kind of has to be small in order to give students the attention they need and allow instructors to deal with the marking load that's necessary to give feedback in a 12-day compressed course. But to do that, and especially with all the wraparound supports that we offer and all the staff that are involved during difficult budget times, has been a hard sell. And it's not that people don't want it. We actually have secured funding for the next 5 years of the program. So we do have funding to offer it this summer and then 4 more summers. So we're really fortunate for that. But it has been a bit of a hustle to get there. And I think most bridging programs are finding similar challenges at this point.
If I could just
Yeah,
jump in and add one thing quickly, just back to the
please.
point Anya made about the social interactions. One thing we are hoping to implement this summer to kind of work on that is an in-person day. So because those Wednesdays are reading days and the students don't have class, we're hoping to use one of those Wednesdays to invite students to campus and actually give them a sample lecture, take them up to the lab and have them get their hands dirty with some experiments, and of course, have opportunities for campus tours and interacting with supports as kind of a clearly what we did last time wasn't what we wanted it to be. Let's try something different this time, and I'm sure next summer we'll have lots of feedback on how that went.
So I'll stop sharing and so we can see people. We're happy to answer any questions. There are some questions.
There are some questions. Thank you so much, Dana. I'm just a voice in the void.